Why isn't the college football playoff expansion, happening now, Paul?
Because the people that run the sport, those are essentially the commissioners, are a group of the pettiest, thin skinned folks I've ever run into. And that's saying something in the world of sports. I mean, they almost make Rob Manfred look like he's competent running MLB right now. What happened is this, guys. Last June, a working group, you hear that phrase a lot, came up with a plan for a 12-team playoff. Most everyone signed off on it, even those who were not sure about how it was going to work said, okay, we'll figure it out. And the possibility of it starting in 2 years was very real. And then this happened. The SEC raided or invited or took refugees from the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas. And that one moment ended everything. Pettiness began. Shots started being fired. The whole thing literally came apart. And we are sitting here today without a college football playoff expansion. The next possibility of it is 2026. And some will say, why is that important? We have trouble getting 4 good teams as it is. True. But it's worth about $450 million a year extra to the schools that play in college football. That number is going to go up exponentially in the future. And we're stuck with the same old, which means the SEC is going to continue winning every year because they are the dominant league. And the 12-team playoff was going to bring others into it, like the Pac-12, which has barely been in the playoff, and other leagues that continue to miss.
Paul, what does this say about the state of college football right now?
I think it's pretty sorry, Harry. I was sitting here a couple of days ago trying to come up with a reaction to the news that broke on Friday afternoon. And I was really sad because this is a sport that I love, and it has tens of millions of followers across the country, if not more. And it's sad that a group of people who are all smart, who are all supposedly well-meaning, a group of academicians and commissioners can't sit in the room. They spent 3 days in Indianapolis 6 weeks ago trying to figure this thing out, and they can't do it because they all have their own fiefdoms, they have their own leagues they're representing, and they just can't come to an agreement. And a lot of it has to do with the Rose Bowl. You always hear the Rose Bowl at 4 o'clock on New Year's Day, and the broadcasters talking about the sun setting over the San Gabriel Mountains. That means something to the people of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I've been there. It's a nice event. I've been to better. But the point being, they won't come off of that. They will not move that game for the betterment of college football. And as a result, we get stuck in this conversation. And the 12-team playoff wasn't going to guarantee excitement, but it was going to be similar to the NFL playoffs, where there's competition to get in. There's competition to have to be in the wild card, to have a bye, to have home field. That's all gone. We have the same boring playoff that we've had since 2014, and it's interesting that the audience has not grown. The first year, it was way up here. It's gone down almost every year. This year, it bounced back a little bit. And yeah, we've had 2 Alabama-Georgia games in the last 4 years. Does the country really want that? No. And when you have a playoff, you open the door, as we just got through watching with the Super Bowl, for upsets, for exciting games. Now we're stuck with the same boring tournament for the next 3 to 4 years, and then we have no earthly idea. The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, who was on this committee that came up with the plan, said Friday afternoon, I'm not sure we're going to go along with anything at this point, meaning maybe we'll take our ball and go somewhere else. And some have suggested maybe the SEC. I'm not suggesting this, but some have. Maybe the SEC just ought to have its own tournament every year.
Well, wow, that's an incredible point, because in my mind, business-wise, Paul, I'm thinking about, okay, like if that 12-year deal that we have, was reported around $470+ million for the college football playoff, like what would make them not expand that? Because you're only going to open up the pocketbook even more so, right? Understanding where TV rights are going, but now you bring it up that point, that it makes me start to think about conferences breaking off to doing their own thing potentially, correct? How would that happen?
Yes,
Paul?
Jay. Well, first of all, it's also killed the easiest line we always have, where these guys are only in it for the money. They've proven here that they are leaving a $500 million on the table for the next couple of years. That money would spend very well in the smaller leagues that really need this extra income. And this year we had Cincinnati get in. I don't think it would happen, but I think it's a threat. And in this world that we live in, where superpowers are threatening each other every day, I think the SEC has gone from we're willing to help everyone else, which really was. I mean, the SEC has proven they do not need to expand. They've had a school in the playoff every single year. And since 2014, twice they've had the national championship game be an all-conference deal. So now the SEC, I think, has got to figure out how much do we want to help everyone else, and I wouldn't want to help anyone right now, considering that Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, was part of this and really has been shot at by the other commissioners. Now, what's this really all about? This is about the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 forming an alliance to try to stop it. Now, for what reason, I don't know. The Pac-12 is barely in existence anymore from a relevant standpoint. The ACC has done pretty well, although not this year. And the Big Ten manages to show up pretty much every year. Had the ACC, Jay, had a 12-team playoff this year, they would have gotten perhaps Pittsburgh in the party because Clemson had a slightly off year. But instead, they were left at home.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.